Hi, welcome to this video. So in this video, we are going to be learning how to check the length of a string. So a string length checker and how to check the length of a string in JavaScript. So it's going to be just a list of all of the ways in which you can check the length of a string in JavaScript. And I'm going to try to cover pretty much every method I can find and I can remember. Okay, so let's get right into it then. Alright then, so I've already opened up a project in Visual Studio Code, so this is exactly what I'll be using. And if you'd like to look at the extensions I've installed for this, so I have the Babel.js extension, this one, so you can take a note of this. This is for syntax coloring. And I also have the live server, which is very important for any kind of project, web development project you have. So it just launches a development local server, so you don't really have to put it up on a hosting every time to look at the output. Okay, so I have this, and the rest of it is just for I don't really need the rest of it for now. So right now I think we are okay with what we have so far. And as far as the files are concerned, I have a folder opened up, so you can just go to file, open folder like this, and you can open up the folder that you want. Alright, so inside of the folder, you can use this link right here to create new files. And if you'd like to create a new folder, you can click on this link. And I already have an index.html page created like this. And this would be the point of contact. This would be the page I'd be using to right click and open my live server. And in here, I've linked my script.js as well. So I'm going to assume that you know basics of HTML before I start this lesson. Alright, and I also have a script.js just created right now, and I've linked to it from here, but I haven't really done much with it. So as I told you before, in this video we'll be looking at different ways to check string length in JavaScript. So you can either use predefined functions or properties, or you can create a manual function. Okay, so and also I would be assuming that you know the basics of JavaScript, because this is more of a question answer kind of video. I'm not really talking about JavaScript from a beginner's point of view. So if you don't know JavaScript, I will be putting up a playlist for beginners, so you can check that out if it's up by now, by the time you're watching the video, I mean. Alright, so let me just get started now. So let's look at how to do both of these things, how to use predefined functions and how to create a manual function. So JavaScript offers a basic string length property to calculate the length of the string. If you don't want to understand the inner workings of how finding string lengths work, you can just stick to this one and you're done. And the syntax of that is basically the name of the string and just length. Okay, so you can just use this and you're done. And in this particular above syntax, this string, it refers to the name of the string that you've declared. So basically the name of the variable that contains the string. And length is the property of the string object, because in JavaScript, everything is an object. So once you've created a string, that would be considered an object, and you can actually apply the length property on that particular object. I hope you understand what I mean. So by affixing the name of the string with the property length after a period, of course, you get your string length. Alright, so the output of this would be the length of the string. Now you'll get an integer value as the result. So you'll get a whole number as the result. So for example, if the string has 10 characters, then the value of string.length would be 10. And you can also assign this value to a new variable, so you can use it down the line if need be. Okay, so now that I've explained how all of this works, let me create a variable. So let a is equal to, let's say it just says hello world. Now another thing you need to remember with finding your string length is that everything is considered a character. So the space right here, it's considered a character. This exclamation point right here, that's also considered a character. Okay. So while calculating the length, it would be all of these. So if we calculate this right now, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, including the exclamation point. Now also, let me create a new variable called len to hold the length of this particular string. Okay, so to get the string length, I'll just say a.length like this, and that length would now be placed inside of my len, the variable len. So you can check out how if this works or not. So we can do a console.log of len and we can check it out. And let me just go to index.html, right click and open. So I've opened a new live server and this is how it looks. So 127.0.0.1 and you have your port right here, which is 5500. And if you go and click on these three dots and go to more tools and developer tools, you will open up your console right here. So let's see. See, it says 12. So you could probably have tagged something along with this to say like maybe the length of, or I can use the template string for that as well. So basically I can say something like length of A is like this. So this is how you create template strings. So open and close these backticks like this, and if you want to, and you can just place the entire string with the values right here. You don't really have to do string concatenation, and you can just use this syntax to bring in the value of your variables, and you're done. And now if you go ahead and look at this output right now, so it says length of hello world with an exclamation point is 12. Perfect. If you like, you can include quotes around this as well. You know, just to give it a pop. See, length of hello world with quotes around it is 12. So that's how you use your predefined methods to find the length, and you can use this in anything. So you can use this in comparisons. For example, in my console.log, I can just say if len is greater than 10 or something like that, and this would essentially be true because it is greater than 10. Alright, you can also use this in your looping, I believe, right? So for example, instead of doing it like this, so I can just say for let I is equal to 0, I is less than, I can just say a dot length, or I can use the one that I've here and then I plus plus. Inside of here, I can do anything I want. What do I need to do? I can probably just find a of I, which would be each of the characters of the string. And if you look at the output right now, see, it just prints out everything. HELLO and then the space and then WORLD with the exclamation point at the end. So you can loop through this if that's what you want to do as well. So that's something that you can do, but right now I want to show you how to manually find the length of the string. Now, of course, I agree that using the length property is the easiest and the most efficient way of finding the string length. But I also believe that it's always good to know the hard way as well. So you appreciate the easy way much better, and also it makes you a better programmer. Okay, so programmers have to know how to do the nitty and gritty stuff as well. Okay, they shouldn't just know only the top level stuff. Okay, that makes for a bad programmer. So you need to know how to do things on your own from scratch as well. And of course, you're not going to go back to the zeros and ones, but if you know how to just find the length of a string from scratch, that makes you a much better programmer than someone who just knows how to use the length property, right? And also you can use this knowledge in other puzzles maybe later on. Because if you just resort to the shortcuts in every single case, then you'll never learn the process and you'll never learn the language properly. Now let's look at the manual way of achieving the same thing we've been seeing so far. So I'm going to try to find the string length without using any native, that is predefined JavaScript functions. So in order to do that, I'll first be creating a function definition so we can call that function whenever we want to find the length of the string, that is. So this is how the algorithm works, and let me just tell you the algorithm right here. So generally when I create a manual solution, I first write down the algorithm, so things are much easier from that. So first of all, you need to receive the string. Let's say it's called str in our example. Okay, first we receive the string, and then we can create a variable len to store the length and assign it an initial value of 0. Okay, so this is going to be the variable. So I'm just going to completely delete everything I had before. Okay, so we're going to start from scratch. So we're going to create a variable called len. It's going to store the length in the future, and first of all I'm going to assign it a value of 0 because I'm going to basically loop through the string to find the length. But this time I'm going to use a different kind of loop where you don't really need to know the length to loop through it. Okay, and then we are going to create a loop that loops over the string, which is what I just told you about, until the loop runs out of characters in the string. So why don't you think about which loop is the best way of going about this? The for loop is completely out of the picture because for a for loop to run, you need to know how many times it needs to run, so you need to know the length. Nope. Do while, on the other hand, yes, it could work, but you know, it would run regardless of what you're sending inside. So if it's an empty string, it would still run at least one time, so which is not what we want. Now while loop is perfect. So while loop can be used to see if there is a character in that particular position. So you can just loop through it like this. So you can say something like str of len, and that could be your condition. So basically, if there is a value in that particular position, if str of 0 has a character, then that would be considered 1, and then you increment len. Okay, and then in the next iteration of the loop, if str of 1, which is the second character in the string, if it has an actual character, then that's again another character. So you can just add characters like that. All right, so and at the end, the value of len would be the length of your string. All right, so let's just get started. To start with, I'm going to create a function called stringlen and open it up, and it's going to receive an argument str and let len is equal to 0, while str of len, you can just leave it as this. Basically what I'm just saying is, if there is something in str of len, as long as there is something in str of len, and every time I just increment. So as long as there is something in str of len, I increment. And finally, once the while loop runs out of steam, I'll just return len. Okay, now we can call it. All right. So how this works is, strings are basically arrays strung together. So if you have something like hello, then str of, so for example, let's say let str is equal to hello. This is what we have right now. Now let me just create a comment to explain how this works. So basically, str of 0 would be h. Okay, and str of 1 would be e. So just like you have in your arrays, you have it right here as well. So l, and str of 3 would be another l, and str of 4 would be 0. So it will go from 0 to the length -1, which is 4 in this case, just like it does with arrays. And you can just access the individual characters like how you would do with an array as well. And this is the exact same scenario that we'll be using. So let's say we have an str hello like this, and then I can call stringlen and send str to it like this. And if you look at the output right now, oh, I'm sorry about that. I have to do a console.log of this. I'll just do a console.log from inside of here if need be. So that it just saves me one line of code. Alright, see, it says 5. But if I give a space in here, so let's see if this still works. Yep, it works perfectly. So this basically means that as long as that's not empty, so space or 0 or any of those things, it's not considered empty. Okay, so if it was empty like this, then your value would be nothing. It would just be retained as the original starting value. But otherwise, even your space and all of those things, they are actually considered as something. So this would always be true as long as there is something right here. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's how you do it. Now, I did tell you that you can't really use a for loop for this. I mean, that's true, because you can't really use a conventional for loop for this. It's just not going to work, because think about it. But you could create an unconventional one. So you have to first declare len, and then in here initialize it, and then look for the condition, and then also make sure that you always create this, and you have to have something inside of this, right? So I'm just going to take the increment out of this, but you need to have the semicolon anyway, and I'm just going to place it right here, and finally I'm going to return len like this. Perfect. And if you look at the output, it's still going to say 12, and it works, right? So this is for loop, but I would go with while loop for this particular example, okay? But because it's more, it flows better, and while loops just work better for this thing. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this video. I really hope you liked it, and if you did, please like and subscribe. I would be putting up a lot more videos like this, and not just the puzzle videos. I'll be putting up full-blown beginner level courses as well. So there'll be more course kind of videos in other playlist as well. So on JavaScript, there's going to be stuff on React, Angular, a lot of the frameworks, front-end and back-end, and later on I would be including Python and data science as well. So there's going to be a lot of videos coming up. So really hope you enjoyed this. I really hope you subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.